Good space time, y'all, and welcome to a new episode of the Citizen Cosmos podcast. Before I introduce today's guest, though, I would like to make a small announcement regarding the show itself. Some of you have probably already heard from our social networks that my co founder and co host Anna has left the project to pursue her own path. She was an inspiration for many ideas, and for me, she was an inspiration definitely for the show itself. And it's saddening to see her leave the project, though all things do change. And in my opinion, they always change for the best. Hopefully, we will be seeing her roaming the cosmos and seeing her around. Another tiny note before we head off are these announcements and the show's format. We are going to play around with the format, and I would love to hear your comments, guys. Please feel welcome to write to us directly, either on Twitter at cosmos_voice or on Telegram at Citizen Cosmos. And that's no spaces, no nothing. Is that one of those things where we usually say it's not a bug, it's a feature, but this is a bug?
The black wire is too standard. It gets lost with all the other black wires sitting behind the desk. So I'm a yellow wire guy for life now. I'm just having fun.
You lost your ledger on a sailboat? Wait a minute. Before we rock it off into our next episode, we would like to share the latest news of this episode's sponsor, Cyber. The Cyber Congress DAO has recently launched its bootloader network for the superintelligence Bostrom. The network is stable and the first IBC connection has been established. More news on the activation of Cyber's gift to follow soon. To test Cyber, head straight to their app on cybe.ai. So, back to reality now, guys. And today's guest is a colleague of ours. He's also an ecosystem developer, building communities, roaming the IBC galaxy. He makes really cool videos, and he's a very cool dude. My guest today is none other but Coney Daddy, and together we had a chat about everything crypto, Web3, and Cosmos. This is the man himself, Coney Daddy. God, people, I don't know if you're seeing this. Well, you're not seeing this, obviously, because it's an audio podcast. But as far as I understand, it's not even daytime yet. And Connie's already has this beautiful drink with, and so do I, by the way. But man, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Serge. Yeah, I'm double fisting a cold brew coffee and a tequila right now. I'm on my way up. I only have one spot to go. I'm so honored to be on a podcast all about Cosmos and blockchain things, even though I'm not a developer and I don't really know how to do any of it. But I'm here to party.
Man, in all seriousness, and we can like kind of take it off from here, surely. I mean, you say you're not a developer and I don't know how to do things, but this is like bullshit, man, because I mean, all those layers, we have layer 0, and layer 0 is the community, and you are the fucking community, man. You're building the community. So saying I don't do shit, man, come on. This is like, where is it coming from?
I'm learning, all right? I just figured out at a macro level what a ZK rollup is. So I'm inching my way there. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of building blocks for sure, but I'm figuring it out one step at a time.
I've looked at your Cosmos journey. And I believe that you did like some video contest, right? That's where it started.
Oh, yeah. Like the Prop 34, 43 video contests. I was following Cosmos for a while. I actually found Akash first because, I was just trying to get rich quick. And I was just scrolling down that list on CoinGecko, just trying to find that hot item, just like everybody else. And I found Akash actually first. And then that led me down the whole Cosmos rabbit hole, which has been a super fun time. But I saw that video contest, and a lot of blockchain videos are usually like two things. It's usually recording of a Zoom call, which might be partially just because of COVID, let's be honest. But it's either a recording of a Zoom call or it is like a motion graphic video. And those are like the only two things. And to be fair, blockchain technology is not tangible. It's extremely hard to like shoot or do anything with. So I just figured I would make something completely random, only using the things I had available to me at the time, which were me, this microphone, my backyard, and that's about it. So that's where we started. We try to do everything organically over here at Coney Daddy Studios.
Man, what's the whole mic thing? The whole cord mic thing? I love it.
Cord mic thing? I'll tell you about that. I bought a microphone and I had it for years, and it was the only microphone I had. This wasn't a design. This was a forced thing. This is just a path of least resistance for sure.
Is that one of those things where we usually say it's not a bug, it's a feature, but this is a bug?
This is a bug.
Is that what you're trying to...
It's not a bug. It was just there at the right time and at the right place. I bought the yellow wire, though, because I thought it was so much more fun than the black one. The black wire is too standard. It gets lost with all the other black wires sitting behind the desk. So I'm a yellow wire guy for life now. Hands down.
Man, I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean, it's iconic. And I'm surprised there are still no NFTs of the yellow wire and the mic going around.
One day.
I'm surprised.
One day.
One day.
I'm making a Coney Daddy NFT project right now that is completely under wraps that I haven't told anybody else about. And I won't tell you too much about it in full honesty. It's under wraps. Well,
come on.
Serge, first off, I have to actually get it all the way done. All right. It's only like probably like an eighth of the way done. Second of all, it's going to be complete shit and have no utility whatsoever. So it's going to feel right at home. I don't know. The floor price is probably like $60,000 or something like that. That's what we're trying to shoot for. I'm just having fun. I'm just hanging out. I'm just having fun. The whole Cosmos Twitter space is just so much fun.
Who is your favorite person to follow, man?
Who's my favorite person to follow? I feel like I follow everybody. I feel like so many people have supported me on my awkward journey through the Cosmos as well.
We don't follow each other, by the way.
Do we not?
No, we don't.
I'm going to be honest. There's sometimes I will be on Twitter and there'll be like an account that I know very well. And I have seen a bunch of stuff from them and like retweeted them. And I like know them personally, maybe. And then one day, 5 months later, I realize I'm not following them. And I'm like, oh shit, now I have to follow them. Now they have to get a notification. Now they have to know I wasn't following them. It just seems kind of rude that, you know, it's taking me this long. It's like if you don't know someone's name and there's like a time where if you've hung out with them for too long, you get to that awkward stage where you can't really ask. It's inappropriate to ask what their name is. You have to nudge a friend or something like that to be on the up and up.
Well, who's your favorite person to follow? I'm still going to have the same question, man.
Oh, who's my favorite person to follow? Oh my gosh. I don't even think about it. I'll think about it. Let me come back to that.
That's a hard question.
Okay, probably Greg Ozuri first off, because he will just airdrop you some AKT. So you should 100% follow him. That's a given, hands down. When I first got on my Cosmos journey too, Adrian, aka the Louisiana Swamp Rat, he's a very interesting follow. Highly recommend him. Adrian and Greg supported me in my intro to the Cosmos realm and just told me to keep on making stuff, which was super fun. Greg flew me out to New York. I went to Masari Mainnet and hung out with the whole Akash team. I had never even talked to Greg on the phone and then met him in the lobby of the Marriott at Times Square for the very first time. Luckily, it really well. Man, it would have been awful if everybody on the Akash team like was terrible and I was just stuck with them for like 3 or 4 days. But it was awesome. I loved it all. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
Nice, man. Well, let's go serious. I'm joking. We're not going to go too serious, but on a small seriousness kind of scale. How did you come to this phenomenon that is blockchain? I mean, one day you woke up over there at Coney Studios thinking, man, beautiful day. I have a cord. I have a yellow mic, whatever. I mean, blockchain? Really? Like how?
If we're going to go way back, and when I mean way back, I mean 2017, way back, you know, that glorious bull run, if there ever was one. So I've just done video stuff my whole life. I work in commercial post production. So I sit on computers that usually have pretty beefy GPUs in them. And I worked at a small post house here in Los Angeles. And my best friend, aka roommate, he was the head IT guy there. So we kind of both started like dabbling into it. We didn't really know what any of it was. We like started to mine. We like downloaded some like awful mining software that I'm sure was like malware. Well, this is the thing. It was this weird software that just would mine whatever was profitable at the time. And it would just like switch. So sometimes it would be like mining like ETH. Sometimes it would be mining Zcash. And then it was mining a bunch of other things. I remember like Monero was one of them. And the other ones I don't even know at this point. And it would just like flip back and forth. So we kind of just got like dust of like all these different various things. We finally did our research and we decided to mine ETH, which I'm just so proud of myself for even thinking that was like the right thing to do. And we finally did it and we mined 1 ETH. We mined an entire one, which was awesome. And it was pure profit because in between me and you and all the people that are listening to this podcast, we mined it at work, which I probably shouldn't tell people. Don't worry about it. So we did that. And we just kind of hung out. And then we kind of like just stopped mining because we were like, well, this was a neat adventure. And currently this 1 ETH is worth not that much. I wonder how much it was at the time, because I remember me and him were like talking about cashing it out and just buying a couple of cases of like Pabst Blue Ribbon, like just 60 cold Pabsts. And we were just too lazy to even figure out how to cash it out. And that was kind of the end of the journey for a while. Then suddenly the bull run happened. That ETH was worth like $1,200. We were like buying other things. We were buying some Bitcoin. We didn't know what the hell that we were doing at all. But he let me have the reins. He was like, do whatever you want with it. And all my buddies were like, there's this new thing called XRP. There's this thing called Ripple. You got to buy Ripple. So I traded that one ETH for Ripple at the all-time high. And since then, it's just crashed down. So we still have the remnants of that one ETH. But that was like kind of the beginning of my crypto journey. And that was like the beginning of me like mining. And I didn't actually buy any for a while. I actually, in the middle of this story, while we were like mining and we didn't really know what anything was, I went on a sailboat race. A buddy of mine, he bought a sailboat on Craigslist for like $3,000.
Wait, Connie, man. I know this story. You lost your ledger on a sailboat. Wait a minute.
That part happens after I get big. That part happens after I get rich. This is sailboat race 1, but we were like sailing through a literal like storm, and my buddy was telling me about like, you should just start buying a bunch of ETH. So I bought my first ETH, which was super inexpensive at the time. I bought like 4, and I bought it on a sailboat just in the middle of open water while a literal, like we're sailing through a literal storm. Like the very next day we like anchored and the Coast Guard like pulled up, and they kind of scolded us for sailing throughout the night, but we made it out alive. So I stacked up a bunch of ETH. And when I mean a bunch of ETH, I mean I had like 10.5 ETH, and that was it, which wasn't worth a whole lot at the time. And then, of course, the bull run happened, and I was like, oh, I got $12,000. And then it all died down, and I figured it was over. So I sold them all, and I sold them all for like $118 each. And I regret it every day, but what are you going to do? Everybody has to have a story like that, right? Everybody's been kind of almost rich one time. That's like a rite of passage, I think. I know for a lot of people, they're probably like, oh, 10 ETH, that's like 40,000. That's a shit ton of money to me. $40,000? Hell yeah. But yeah, that was kind of my first soiree. I didn't know anything about it at the time. I was just kind of like, this one's cool. Do this one.
And when did the light come? When did you discover Cosmos?
When did the light come? Well, the light...
Yeah.
At my, this is another like side tangent. I also remember the moment I had a friend who was working at my same post house, because we were all like kind of just dabbling into it. He like walked back with like his laptop. He's like, look at these things. They're pictures that you can buy, and they're like $100 each. And they were crypto punks. And I just remember looking at them all and being like, that's stupid. Hell no. Hell no.
Was that a punk or a crypto ape by any chance?
Punk, yeah.
Nah.
I feel like it was punks first, and then it was like crypto kitties. What happened to, are crypto kitties worth a lot right now? I feel like you don't hear anything about them.
I actually still have about 16 crypto kitties.
Yeah, are they like worth a lot now? Like, because I feel like they were like definitely one of the first NFT things, and they crippled the network, and they have like a pretty big like story behind them.
I have an episode with Konstantin Lamashuk, who is the P2P validator, lead of finance guy. Like, you know, this big time fella now. And we're friends. We go years back. And I remember 2016, 17, the whole thing starting out. And then CryptoKitties happened. And I remember we actually have this story on the episode, so I feel safe enough telling this. And we were sitting in one of our offices in Minsk in Belarus. It was Christmas 2017. It was like the 25th, 24th of December, something like that. And then Costa calls one of us and says, oh, can you open the gate? And we're thinking, why do you want us to open the gate? Because you have no car. And he's like, well, I do have a car. Now, can you please open the fucking gate? So somebody actually goes to open the gate, and he pulls in an ML, and then you Mercedes ML. And what it was, and this is actually a famous story. You can actually Google this story. He sold a CryptoKitty and bought a Mercedes ML for that CryptoKitty. And he sold it to Igor Barinov, the founder of the XDAI chain. So it's quite a famous story. It's one of the first CryptoKitties. So those things were crazy, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting where punks are now, because in my like pleb mind at the time, CryptoKitties were like way more hot and like way more of like a bigger ordeal. And like punks, I feel like were not that poppin' when they first came out. Maybe I'm wrong. It's not like I like followed the space immensely. I didn't understand it at the time, you know, and I guess we're all still trying to understand it.
I'm with you. I'm with you, though. I mean, all I got out of this NFT hype was a crypto duck. You probably, nobody knows what a crypto duck is.
I don't know what that is right now. Explain to me like I'm 5.
It's a crypto duck.
Oh,
there we go.
Crypto duck. A duck.
Yeah, a
Quack,
duck, like a
quack.
quack quack
Oh,
duck. Yeah, like a quack quack duck. Yeah, like one of those. I'm sorry, my accent is coming out, but hey. Anyway, seriously, like, so you had like this all this story, like, which is a quite, I mean, in a way it's typical, but it's a cool crypto story with boats and whatnot and this. But and then you kind of discover Cosmos, as you say, CoinGecko, all that stuff. That's cool. What and you say you're here to chill, and in my opinion, what you're doing is, like I said, you're building the most important layer zero, the community. But what is the goal of the Crypto Daddy Studios? I mean, I don't mean like a goal as in like a business goal. Fuck that, right? I mean, what's your personal kind of motivation to do all this?
I guess this is my ultimate motivation. When I was younger, I watched the movie Wayne's World. Do you know what Wayne's World
Of
is?
course, I know.
You know what
Of
Wayne's World?
course.
I don't know how international Wayne's World is. You know what I mean? I have no idea. I didn't know if it made its way
Look
past
at me. Look
Canadian
at
US
me. Look
borders.
at me.
But
Look at me. I know what friends. Well, look at me, for fuck's sake.
But I watched Wayne's World and I thought that was awesome. I was like, I want to be just like these guys. Looking back on it, they're all like losers, and that was a terrible role model for me. But I was like, these guys are awesome. And then when you like go to like school, when you go to university or whatever, and you have to like pick a career for the rest of your life, is what it kind of feels like. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Still don't know what the hell I'm doing. But I especially didn't know then. So I was just like, oh, I kind of like to make videos, so I'll just do that. So I just went down that whole rabbit hole and then and then I moved to Los Angeles. I just moved out. I packed up all my shit in the back of my shitty ass car and just moved here with no job or anything. And yeah, just like fell into the post production commercial advertising realm, which is fun, but it also just sucks. So we like start at 10-hour days minimum. That's like your like smallest day. So you have like a 50-hour work week, like minimum. And I loved making videos when I was younger with friends and just like shooting something and just like editing it and just like exporting it and being done in like one day and just like moving on and not like worrying about like the small, super tiny details. Like if you work in commercial advertising, you know what I mean? If there's like a speck on the wall, you're like rotoscoping that out and like painting that out and stuff. So I don't like to do it. It feels like work. It took the fun out of it. But making Coney Daddy videos is very fun and I like it. And it reminds me of why I like to make videos because it's just quick and it's fun. And I have like some friends here in LA that will occasionally help me shoot them and make them, which is super awesome. And I wrote my girlfriend in all the time and I'm like, can you pull focus? Can you make sure I'm in focus and all this other stuff? But it's just fun and it's whimsical and I like to do it. But also, before any of that kind of started, I was just like constantly researching blockchain stuff. And it's such a deep rabbit hole. I still feel like I don't know anything. And just so much is happening all the time, so fast. Like even keeping up with everything just in the realm of Cosmos is very hard just because things are just moving at like the speed of light. It's also tough too because all these like prominent figures and stuff that you should follow if you want to like keep up with updates, but everybody just has a weird NFT as a profile picture and it's very hard to tell like who's who at times for sure. But man, it's a fun realm. It's a super fun realm.
And where is it going, man?
You think I know, Serge? You think I know where it's going? I have no idea where it's going.
Not the market. Not the market.
Not the market?
I mean, the whole Coney Daddy thing. I mean, the whole crypto Twitter Coney Daddy Cosmos thing. Where are you going to, I mean, making videos, like you say, it's fun. And as long as you're enjoying it.
I really don't know where it's going to go. I don't know where it's going to end up. I think it's just a fun ride. You know what I mean? I like people I interact with on Twitter. I feel like everybody else is super fun. I like the entire space too. At least when I went to Masari, one thing that I thought was super interesting, at least compared to like a lot of other industries and whatnot, crypto is like so young and so new that there's not like old money in it yet. I mean, I'm sure there's other people that'll be like, there's people that have a ton of money that bought Bitcoin, but sure, okay, great. But like compared to other industries, everybody is just so new and so fresh and like there's no one yet who's like my father was a Bitcoin miner. Everyone is just so new and young and I feel like it makes the space just very vibrant and like alive and I feel like people are like very jazzed to be in it as opposed to my father was a banker so I became a banker just for the hell of it because keeping up with the family business or whatever nepotism bullshit.
Actually, I do hear you because when I started to work in crypto, which was 2016, and I started to write off. I mean, like you say, I was writing some articles just for fun on Steemit. And then suddenly the next thing I know is I'm launching crypto projects. So this is why I ask you, where is it going? Because well, be careful, man. That's where it might end up.
I don't know. Do you know the guys from Chandra Station? They're a validator as well?
No, I don't actually.
Chandra, there's a guy there named Chalabi, a very, very nice guy. Everyone validate to Chandra Station. Little pop out. I'm not saying don't validate to Citizen Cosmos. I'm not trying to start a war
No,
here.
Chandra. No. Validate to Chandra. Validate to Chandra, guys. No.
Chandra always tells me I can't learn too much. I always need to stay a little bit below because he says that's the allure of a lot of my videos is they're very like dumbed down and a little bit more like just like speaking to like common people. So he's like, the moment you learn too much, it's all downhill. You're too on the inside. That might take a while though.
I can so hear it. As soon as you start to understand, I remember like man, 2013, when we first time we made some money with crypto, and then you actually start to research it, and then you're like, oh no, that's too serious. And then it goes way down the hill from there, way down the hill from there. I totally agree. But on the validation note, man, when is Coney Daddy gonna validate Cosmos Hub?
One day, maybe when I figure it out. I'm trying.
Come on.
I'm trying. I've thought about it. I actually have thought about it just like for fun. Just to have a way to perpetually make more videos and just live the Coney Daddy life.
I'm not saying anything, but me and Crypto Cito, I went onto his YouTube channel and I asked him, when do we see crypto, like the validator? So, and then he did launch it. So I'm just saying.
And Steak Cito was
I'm
born.
asking you now, Steak Daddy, come on, Steak Daddy. That's beautiful.
Steak Daddy is a pretty good name. Also, my name was never supposed to be this Twitter handle was never supposed to be a public facing name.
I want to hear the story. Come on, I want to hear the story.
I don't even know if there is much of a story. It was just me just thinking of weird names. It was not supposed to be a public facing name. My face was never supposed to be. It was a lurker account. True and true. I'm originally from Cincinnati, though, which is a small town. I wouldn't say it's a small town. We have a major league ball team. We're kind of big time, I guess. But we have Coneys. There's a variety of Coneys, at least throughout the United States. I'm sure there's some in other parts of the world. But we have like a Cincinnati cheese Coney, which is just like a hot dog, chili, cheese, onions, mustard. And that's like the staple of the area. There's more like Coney chili parlors than there are like McDonald's or other fast food establishments. So that's the only reason why my name is Coney Daddy. It has nothing to do with anything else. Should you try one? I think you should, but everybody I've ever introduced it to does not like it. They're just in full honesty. They just don't like it. It might just be nostalgia thing for sure. If you're from the area, you love it. You were raised on it, all right? It has to be a terribly unhealthy food. It's a hot dog, which is already unhealthy. And then it's a meat sauce. It's like meat on top of a hot dog, and then just cheese piled on the top.
On a validation note, man, what is your opinion that Binance recently, well, not that recently, but more or less recently dropped out of the top spot and now is, I think it's 14, 15?
I think that's awesome. I know a lot of people that are in the space probably like, it's not that much work. Read the proposals, vote on stuff. But like normal people that have other like actual fiat paying jobs and have to go live their lives and stuff, they're not like keeping up with stocks or anything like that. So they're for sure not going to keep up with like validator calls and all, keeping up with like governance proposals. And I feel like no one even knows what validator to even like pick. Like I know every time I try to stake on a new chain, it's like, who the hell are all these new people? I don't know any of these people on this chain. These are all random accounts. So it's very hard to like tell who you align with. I usually just stake to like a bunch of people that I know personally and just stake to a bunch of different ones. I feel like the safest thing, right? Even though you claim those stake rewards, you really got to hit that right button on that fucking ledger 1,000 times because, you know, you're like staked to like 10 different validators, but it's part of the fun. I feel like it's all part of the fun. I do like the whole gamified approach to like blockchain technology. I do think it like legitimately makes it so much more fun than like normal banking. And I was never one that like studied finance in any of my K through 12 or collegiate studies. I was a video guy. I didn't have time for numbers. And I think the blockchain space and just like studying that has really opened my eyes to just a lot of normal fiat finance things that I probably should know by my age, in all honesty. And I didn't. I had no idea. I didn't know what fractional reserve banking was. I learned that, and then your mind is just fucked. It's all downhill.
You're an 80s kid, right? You're an 80s child, right?
I'm a 90s kid. What?
Oh, what?
Are you an 80s kid, Serge?
I am.
Old man. I'm a young gun over here.
I look much better. I mean, the crypto thing, like, you know, the hardware wallets, they keep your skin.
Keep you looking smooth. Keep you looking smooth. I'm at the edge, though. I'm 91. I'm in my 30s now, which is, oh my God.
That's beautiful. I love this validation conversation because we're talking like fun stuff. And I think most people start off their crypto journey like for fun. But I tell you one thing, I had a witness note, there we go, in as far as 2016, but that's basically POS, but the old POS. And I tell you that I've seen networks die because of shitty validators. And of course, this is different time for crypto. But we did progress, and the way the consensus has progressed, and the way we view validators and bonded proof of stake in Cosmos rather than just proof of stake, which kind of makes ups the game, because as a delegator you now need to think who you delegate into, because you also get punished, right? As in before you didn't. So, and the validators didn't care about the network. And the reason why I'm asking you, like why I asked CryptoCito, and why I will ask anybody who in my opinion is contributing to the network, is, man, guys, you said like you don't know who to validate to. And in my opinion, validators, if a blockchain is like a city or a country, so the validators are like the businesses, and the delegators, we are the VC, we are the users, we actually delegate money, we get something back. And I think if those people who validate the network actually improve the city, they do something like make it famous, start a TV, or build a theme park or whatever, this is the people who should be, in my opinion, be more rewarded than well, again, this is why I ask people like yourself, man. When is we gonna see Daddy's
Steak Daddy.
Steak Daddy, Steak Daddy? Man, I would delegate to Steak Daddy. I mean, come on.
One day soon, I hope. Well, one thing I do love about the delegator or like validator business model, though, is it just feels so much less like slimy than like other business models. As far as like stake your funds to me, you're still getting something out of it. It doesn't feel just like it's straight up like send me money. You know what I mean? It feels a little bit more. What's the appropriate word? Like symbiotic.
Donate. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. It feels just like a little bit like less slimy and like less just like give me money. I think that's like what's hard too is like when you look down like a list of validators, it's very hard to tell who's doing what within the community, especially if you're someone that's new and hasn't like you don't know who's personally like attached to all the individual validators or like who they are. Jack is in charge of Strangelove. I know that because I hang around Twitter all the time. But if you're like somebody that's completely new and you're like very new into the whole thing, you might not know who Jack is. You don't know that he's associated with Strangelove. I've definitely like re-delegated bags to people that I know and a lot of people that I've met. Because I also feel like if anything happens, I can be like, yo, CryptoCito, what's going on? He's never done anything bad. I'm just using this as an example, but he's never done anything bad. You should stake to stake Cito. Yeah.
He does not say where his dad is for a long time now. I mean, we've still been looking for his father. And if Steak Daddy comes along, maybe, just maybe. You bring a good point. You bring an excellent point. I mean, that's actually a good question. Maybe how should they find out who does what, or who's this, whatever that name is, Strangelove, or I'm sorry, we're picking on you, Jack, or I don't know, Chainflow, whatever. Let's pick on anybody else, Sentinel, whatever. Like, and you're thinking, well, Sentinel is easier because the name of the project. But maybe this is because like the whole POS industry is still young.
I think it's a lot of it's because it's so young. I do wish when you were like going down the staking Kepler interface or whatever, I do wish everybody had like a little bio, just that's like what they do. Just, like 140 characters. And I know that you can put a link to like a site, but some people don't have anything on the site or don't have a link at all, which is, I don't know, I guess should be an alarm maybe.
What would be the Steak Daddy's 140 character introduction?
Let's see. I don't
It's gotta be 140 characters. I'm counting, man.
The guy with microphone talks a lot.
Come on, but you can do better than that. No, but seriously, man, it is a great thing, I think, that less centralized exchanges, but there is still a lot validating the network.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Hopefully that we will see more and more people that are actually like yourself building the network to join and validate it.
I feel like it's a great sign too, because I think it shows that a lot of the active participants in the network are becoming aware of the rewards that you get without staking to a centralized validator and are just becoming more in tune with the decentralized ecosystem. Because most people that I know on like a personal level own like a little bit of crypto in some form, but they have no idea what it does. They bought it on Coinbase and they're just attempting to flip it in, I guess, like a short amount of time. And they're all buying like $100 worth, $300 worth, $500. You know what I mean? Somewhere in that kind of realm. But none of them will ever export, or they're not going to take their assets out of the sex. It's not going to happen anytime soon. I have converted a few friends over to osmosis for sure. And that's probably one of the reasons why I kind of fell in love with the Cosmos ecosystem, is probably just I tried so many times to play around with the Ethereum ecosystem, and I tried to do things on it, but I just don't have enough money to do things on it. It's just like cut and dry. Because like if you're nervous about dumping any form of money into something that you have no idea what it is, right? It's for a lot of people, they get very hung up on it. And then when you're in the space long enough, you don't even know what money is anymore. It's just like a weird abstract of value. But I feel like people get very like hung up on it. They get very scared of putting money into it. And then when you go to use all these dApps on the Ethereum network and they're asking you for a gas fee that's like outrageous, it makes it very hard for like a common person to explore and very get comfortable and really like dip their toes in. And it makes it like hard for them to get like experience, because every single move that they make is costing them so much. Whereas with like osmosis and Cosmos in general, you can buy one atom and you can do all of it. You know what I mean? You can like buy one atom, you can send it to a self-custodial wallet, you can take it to osmosis, you can swap it for something. You can do all that with just one atom of value. Just gain so much experience. And arguably, once you learn how to do that, then when you move over to Ethereum or like some other blockchain, all of it is like more or less similar in some capacities. So I feel like it's a great intro to the blockchain space. If anything, it's just a great way to like get your feet wet. And I think like new people should dive into that.
But judging from what you're saying, I mean, I hate stigmas and tags, but would you say you're a Cosmos Maxi then?
I suppose so. Yeah.
Because I'm not, man. I'm not. People hate when I say that.
Citizen Cosmos Surge isn't a Cosmos Maxi.
Bro, this is the thing. People hate that. And I'm sorry, I have to say that though. I'm a blockchain maxi. I'm a decentralization maxi, even not a blockchain maxi.
That's fair. I think it's never a good idea to be a maxi in anything, because then you are walling yourself off from like change and like new things to come.
You're right.
And it's only 2022. Who knows like what the future is going to behold. Like think of all the chains that have come and have died, and like I sold all my ETH in like 2018, which like in hindsight was obviously a terrible idea, but like at the time you're like, oh, this is done, and like someone's going to make something that's like better, and this one's going to go to zero, and it's like all moving so fast all the time. It's very hard to like peg anything.
Man, I think in 5-10 years time you will remember this conversation and we will laugh, because I don't think people will question what underneath blockchain there. It's all gonna be talking to each other, and I think it's so close. We can breathe it already with IBC, obviously.
I think the more I learn about blockchain, the more regular fiat, like regular banking, just confuses the hell out of me. I had to go pay my rent the other day, but like my landlord wants me to mail him a paper check, which like don't even get me started on a paper check and how confusing that is at all. So he, for some reason, like wasn't able to get the check because he was like out of the country. So he wanted me to like walk down to the bank and like deposit the check directly into his account, which is a pain in the fucking ass because now I have to go to a fucking bank. But I like get there, I accidentally write down the account number on like the back of the check. And then I accidentally wrote a number down wrong, and I was like cross-checking it with like the email that he sent me. So I was like, oh shit, I wrote down this number wrong. So I like scratch out the number and I rewrite a new one. And like the bank teller was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can accept this because like you scratched it out. I was like, well, why does that matter? She's like, okay, just hold on. They got a manager. They had me initial next to the crossed out number, and they were like, okay, it's fine now. He initialed next to it. It's okay. So it's like instances like this where I am just so baffled by like the regular fiat world, and the blockchain world just makes like so much more economical. Like,
so basically what happened in the crypto way is basically when you pressed pasted the address into the ledger, into the whatever, the MetaMask, it took so much time to check the address that it pretty much crashed the system.
I was just baffled that like, all right, just put your initials by it. That's fine. No one else could have hijacked this check and stolen it, and they couldn't have put your, first letter of your first name, the first letter of your last name on it. No one else could have done that. This was good.
I don't remember, but I think if you put like 2 lines at the front page of the check, and it has to be like 2 lines or an X. I don't remember. That means that the check cannot be passed to another person, because you can pass checks, right? Or something like that.
You can like sign off checks to other people, which is, I've never done that. And it also sounds like just an incredibly confusing thing. Like I can write a check to somebody else, and then that person I think can like write on the back and be like, give this to Serge. And it makes
Wow.
no sense. I don't know how checks work. See, this is the thing. I never really knew how money in general worked. And then I feel like I learned about like Bitcoin and blockchain. And then I feel like I kind of went backwards and learned about fiat money. And my mind is blown away by fiat money. Like, I just don't understand how it works at all. Like, a check is mind boggling, right? It's a mind boggling thing. It's like a piece of paper.
Beautiful.
And then if
It's
you,
like NFT.
it, it is like an NFT, right? It's got a little number on it. I mean, yeah, I guess it isn't fungible with another check, I guess. Checks are mind blowing. I don't understand them. I never will. I think I have to order some new ones soon because that's the only way I pay my landlord. And he hasn't raised our rent in a little bit. And I'm terrified I'm not even going to open that box. I just don't want to mention it.
Imagine if he listens to this podcast.
He might. Who knows? He started talking about like blockchain one day.
This is a good subject you bring, man. I tell you the thing, I found about blockchain in 2011. It took me a while to understand what the hell was going on. But anyways, that's not the point. Like, I just want to get back at your point here that I realized over the course of like the 10 years that if I want to explain to somebody what blockchain is and for them to really understand and to use it, then I don't say anything about blockchain. All I have to talk about is just the current fiat system and the way it works. And then when people listen to that and then they're like, oh my fucking God, that's how it works?
No one knows.
Yeah, man, people don't know.
No one really knows. We just kind of accepted it. Tokenomics. I would have never considered the quote unquote tokenomics of the US dollar in any form or fashion. I had another chain or token to compare it to. You know what I mean? I just kind of accepted it as like, these are the dollars. We need to get more of these. And that's about it. And then you compare it to existing tokenomics, I guess, and insane COVID stimulus inflation. And
well, if you think about the US dollar tokenomics is very similar to the story of Tether, where it was supposed to be backed by something. Then it's not backed by anything anymore. We already can accept that, and we still carry on using it.
And that was confusing too. So I am originally from Cincinnati, right? I actually live on the Kentucky side of the river. So in Kentucky, we have Fort Knox, which is a military fort that supposedly houses gold, like all the gold, like all the United States gold that's supposed to back up everything. And I feel like that's what you were told when you were like a little kid going on a field trip there in like the fucking third grade. And then you go down this rabbit hole and you realize that the US dollar hasn't been backed by gold since like 70 God knows what. And the entire rug is just pulled out from underneath your feet. I'm definitely, as I progress more into the blockchain space, I get much more comfortable with like holding more of my assets in crypto. Because at first I was not, right? I mean, at first nobody is, right? Everyone's like inching their way in. But kind of as you get more in the space, I feel like you're just kind of like, yeah, this will probably drop by half at some point, and then it'll probably go up at some point, and you just accept it for what it is. And I don't know, you just kind of hang out. I feel like my ultimate goal is just to not work that much. I don't want to be a rich guy. I just don't want to work that much.
It's a beautiful goal.
I'm a simple guy, okay? I don't need a whole lot. I just don't want to have to work forever. And I think if you have that kind of mindset, then it's very easy for you to just stash a bunch of value in crypto and just go for the ride because you don't need to immediately extract that value for anything. It's a good space to be in. I realize not everybody's like has money that they can more or less like have cut in half at a moment's notice. I get that. Yeah, it's like a wild ride for sure. Do you have a lot of friends that are like pretty full in on crypto? I feel like my friends are still like, I'm buying $100, like very like small amounts, which is fine and fun. And I think they should. I think that's what you have to do to dabble and to get into it. For sure.
It took me 6 years to completely change to crypto, but it's been now 5 years that I've not had any other hello IRS that I have only live off crypto and the world around it. And it's been about 5 years now.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I'm still not all the way there yet. I still have a fiat job. I still get fiat money to pay for rent and things of that sort of nature, but
I still do have sometimes fiat income, but that income will also be always crypto related. It's just that the people choose for some reason to do it via the whole system.
Are they just paying you in like stables or something like that? Or
No, it's not like I don't work for anyone, but sometimes when I do certain things, like, I don't know, I used to do some consulting, for example, and, we used to design some systems. I used to work as an ecosystem developer for other projects as well. And sometimes they would choose to pay in fiat money via the banks. And, you would have to go and through the whole hell of that. Yeah, that's crazy. But what do you think, or do you even think? I mean, if we're on the subject of like adoption, I guess, right, and getting completely into crypto, what do you think will bring people closer? I mean, you said that the Cosmos ecosystem is much easier to use as an example to the existing like Ether DeFi. What else do you think could help onboard, or do we even need to onboard more people? That's the first question, I guess.
I guess that's the ultimate goal is right to onboard as many people into it and get as many people popping over into it. I think for me too, it's not even that like Cosmos is easier than Ethereum. It's that since gas fees are so cheap, you can do more and make mistakes and learn and get your feet wet like a lot easier. You can just dive into so many things and not have to like stress about how much it costs just to like move money around and like use dApps and stuff. And I feel like it's important for people just to like do a bunch of that and get as comfortable as possible. And then once you're kind of over that threshold and you've done it a bunch and all your items are still there, right? They haven't like vanished into $0. I feel like that's when you get a little bit more comfortable and you just start to like throw in more hunks and like do all that. I wish there was an easier way to like, what's your like fiat on and off ramp? I use Coinbase Pro. I don't really cash out very often. I'm gonna be completely honest. People have paid me in a lot of various crypto tokens, and I have not cashed out on any of them. I just hold all of them, and I just use fiat money that I get to pay for fiat things, and everything else just kind of sits there. I probably should be a smart guy and like take some profits at the top and stuff. That would be the adult thing to do.
Here's something crazy for you, man. And I'm not going to say the project because I don't like advertising, but there is a project in the IBC ecosystem that issues cards, which you can actually IBC money from osmosis directly to your card and use that in a shop.
Oh,
that's pretty
what?
crazy, man.
Wait, so I can just what? Do I just convert to UST and can just spend it?
Well, you don't use it. Their token is traded on, I just don't want to do any advertisement, but their token is traded on osmosis and you use that token.
Is it a centralized exchange that potentially bought the Staples Center here in Los Angeles? Can you give me a hint? Is that a big hint?
That's the one, man. That's the one. But that's crazy, right? I mean, I get my like, like rewards from, let's say, I don't know, whatever, from staking on one project. Let's say I Sentinel, Cyber, whatever. IBC them to osmosis, put them into LP, then like sell part of that like rewards for that and transfer it onto a car. Like what?
I'm still confused as to how, like, sometimes I feel like, everyone on Twitter is always like, we're so early. Everyone's so early. And like, I get that. And I agree with that to like a large point. But then I was driving down the 10 the other day. I don't know if you know, Serge. The 10 is a very congested highway that goes through Los Angeles. Very, very congested freeway. I don't know what the difference between a freeway or a highway is. Someone else can comment on that. But the Staples Center is now the crypto.com arena. There's branding all over. There's ads all over. It feels like it's very here, but then I talk to my friends and I'm like, do you guys own anything? And for the majority, it's no. I have a few friends too that are more or less, I won't say they're like against crypto. I would just say they are still fairly uneducated on it. And a lot of them are very hung up on the proof of work environmental dilemmas. Like a lot of them are very hung up on that. And that's like their biggest like factor as far as like don't dabble into it. I understand why that's a concern for sure. On the other side of the coin, though, also a lot of these people that I know like work at companies that are terrible for the environment, like absolutely terrible for the environment. So I'm just like, I get it. I get that we shouldn't be just like using a bunch of power to do X, Y, and Z. Like I understand that, environmental concerns need to be taken into account, but also it just feels weird that you're working at a company that is just trashing the environment and you seem fine with that. But the moment other people do anything else, you seem very concerned. I don't know. I feel like that's one thing that proof of stake chains do advertise, but I would argue should maybe be advertised more is I just feel like a lot of common people get very hung up on the environmental impacts and that's all they hear about is like Bitcoin mining and how that's more or less bad. And I feel like they staple that to just all crypto things. I feel like you also know you've been in the space long enough when you read POS as proof of stake and not piece of shit. Because I feel like that's what I knew what POS was for so long. And I would like read all these papers and be like, Piece of shit. What are they talking about? Is this a bad chain? This is a bad chain. But I
Oh,
finally
I
have
never thought
converted.
about
I
that.
finally have mentally converted. I feel like POS. I feel like that's what everyone says when they're, politely trying to say piece of shit.
You've just started it for a lot of people, I'm sure about
Right.
that.
I'm sure there's going to be some proof of work like Maxi people that are like, yeah, it is a piece of shit.
I have definitely know a few proof of work maxis who listen to the show, so they will be like, "Ah, yeah, piece of shit."
I don't think I'm educated enough to make a firm proof of work versus proof of stake. Yeah, don't ask me. It did take me a lot longer to understand proof of stake, though. I feel like mentally I could understand proof of work a lot easier. Proof of stake is a little bit more confusing.
Why?
Well, because it's like money is just like protecting other money, kind of like value is protecting other value, which I feel like is a much harder concept to like deal with in my mind, I guess, as opposed to I feel like proof of work is just so much more visual. And I feel like that like helps a lot of people as far as like, look at all these computers mining Bitcoin, helping protect the network, it's warehouses all around the world.
There is this huge old debate in the proof of stake, proof of work about the inception of tokens. And if in proof of work, we kind of understand where the token come from,
It
right?
comes from
Like
the
somebody just-
Coinbase. It's not an exchange. It's a word for the coins incepted from the mining. I'm kind of a smart guy. I know a thing or two.
But in proof of stake, then like, well, the tokens just kind of appear out of thin air. That's the whole like one of the huge debates of, and actually I was gonna ask you about that. I've noticed that in a lot of the episodes of the show, people that we talk about crypto sooner or later come to talk about this. So like who gets the tokens and how often they get them, basically the basic tokenomics. And I don't know, what do you think about it? How do you think like initial distribution should happen of a token? How to make it fairer than it is now?
Hell do I know? God, I have no idea. I feel like there's like two sides to everything. And that is you want it to be decentralized as fuck, like one, but like two, you need to pay developers, you need to pay them well, and you need to get good developers, and you need to have money to spend to pay said developers that should bring value to the entire ecosystem. And developers are not free, and they're a very like sought after resource, and that's a hard job. It's a good paying job. It's an in demand job. You know what I mean? So you need to have cash flow to get people at competitive rates and bring them in and pay them and have them make amazing stuff. Sometimes I feel like on various social media threads, I feel like people get very hung up on like how much money is being spent to implement X, Y, or Z on certain blockchains and whatnot. And but at the end of the day, like you have to dump money into things to like make stuff, to pay people. And there needs to be like some funds. And I guess I don't really know. I guess it depends on like how those funds are locked up and how they're being allocated and how they're being used. And it is a very like fine line in between like rug pull and dump. And
right now in proof of stake chains, we have community pools, right? Which are run by the token holders. So technically the community is in charge of a lot of money.
I guess the community is always fighting, right? Which I would argue is kind of health. I think the community should be fighting and should be arguing and making sure that like the good stuff gets through. I guess I'm more on the team of all these projects are like so new, so we should just I don't know spend a lot of the community pool to make them better. I know a lot of people in reference to CosmWasm being implemented onto osmosis. I know there were some people like this is too much money, blah blah blah, which I get. And I know how much it takes to implement those things. Like, no, I'm not an authority on that. Fuck yeah, pay the people. Let's implement the CosmWasm. Let's get this shit rolling. Let's make it awesome. It takes money to make money. That's what this whole thing is summed up in. So I think that we need to incentivize people to make awesome stuff. And money makes the world go round. So you got to throw it on out there. You got to take some risks. You got to good people to make things.
No, I totally agree.
For sure. Obviously, these people should be semi vetted, but Ethan Fry and those guys, I feel like they have a pretty good resume. I feel like they're doing good. I feel like we should let them implement the CosmWasm, buy them the Club Montes.
No, for sure, man, for sure. I think they should, well, maybe a Lambo each. No, I'm joking, but no, I actually totally agree. In my opinion, and I was part of Prop 26, the Cyber Pro. That was rejected essentially.
Oh, the incentivize the space pussy, that one?
No. That's we're talking 2000 and.
Oh, forever ago, a millennium ago.
We're talking prop in Cosmos Hub, prop 26 or 25. When Cyber came to Cosmos Hub in, was it spring 2021? No, 2020. And they asked for some atoms, I think it was 10,000 atoms, in exchange for some future tokens via IBC.
Which at the time, how much was the atom in 2020? It was probably like $6.
I think it was 50K.
That's not much. That's not much money.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And it was like the first that kind of like in DeFi, nobody did back then. Like DAOs would not be buying DAOs yet. And that prop was essentially rejected, though many people, many of the big validators who voted no, has since then publicly has said either on the show, I don't know, maybe just hold the gun to the head, but or either like in other places that, oh no, we should never voted no, we should have voted yes. And yeah, we fudged up. And in my opinion, it is, because like this is exactly what you're saying. You're paying developers kind of to develop something in order to grow the ecosystem and essentially make the city bigger and make everybody more profitable, in my opinion, and that at the end.
Yeah. I saw some like Twitter drama about Kepler Wallet was like charging people to be like featured on their wallet. They got to update that shit. They got to make some shit better. They got to keep that rolling. Yeah. I mean, there should be. I understand that people want this utopia of free work and open source things. And like, I get that. But also, we got to eat. We got to make things better. We have to have time in our day to divert all your attention to one thing. It's just a fact of life.
I definitely think competitiveness is like, yeah, it's competitiveness. And you say the community's got to fight. They got to produce something from those fights. And it's the same thing. I mean, isn't it like competitiveness?
Bring the good people. We want the best. We want the best.
So, man, the show is about people who build Web3 and who play a part in building Web3.
God bless all of them.
Amen. Amen. Hallelujah. And what motivates them? What makes them do what they do? So the question is, what motivates you to do what you do? In your case, make cool videos, build the communities.
What motivates me?
Yeah, man. What motivates you to in your daily life?
I don't know really what motivates me. I think I just have fun. Like, just downright, I just have fun making Coney Daddy videos and hanging out. I mean, there's a lot of other ways that I can go work at like commercial post houses and make more money each day, but I don't like to do that. It doesn't feel very productive. It doesn't feel like I'm really like doing the world any good by any means. But yeah, I would guess I would just say I'm just like having a fun time. But also, I love researching the space and like learning more about the space. And I actively do it all the time in my downtime. Which is not something I do with really any other subject at all. So I guess like doing Coney Daddy things because it ties back in with like stuff that I genuinely like and enjoy learning about. And I do think are going to like change the world and like change business models and mix things up for sure. Hopefully Coney Daddy moves past Twitter. This is just a Web 2 lifeboat that we're on right now. We need to get on the Web 3 ship. All right. It's almost here. We're waiting for it. We've sent out the flare. We sent out the rescue beacon. It's going to pop our way for sure. But I think it's going to be here before we know it with just how fast the space is moving, at least in my non-developer eyes. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be here so fast. I love following the Akash team for sure. And I'm very like bullish on that squad. Because I don't know, I think all of that decentralized like cloud compute is going to play such a big role in our up and coming lives. Like before we know it, I think right now we are still early. I think we're on the inside. I think it's a very small group of people. I think not a lot of people understand any of it at all. I think it's a very hard thing to explain to other people because anytime you try to explain crypto to anybody, it's like, let me take you back to Bitcoin. They have to learn Bitcoin first. You truly have to know the basics of Bitcoin before you like move on to anything else, because everything else is just like built on top of it. And it can be a very confusing subject for a lot of people, especially people that are not tech savvy. And I consider myself, I think I'm a fairly tech savvy individual. I'm a post-production guy. I can tell you a lot about images that appear on screens. I work with a lot of software that has a GUI, that has a graphics user interface. Yeah, I'm not a coder like by any means at all. So I think we have a long way to go kind of like in that realm and just getting like the main people involved. But it's happening. It's happening fast. My mom told me the other day she would like a Bitcoin for her birthday. It's probably not going to happen, but she's aware of it. She's aware that it exists, and she's, I think, 60. She probably doesn't want me saying that out loud. So for now, we just stack. We just chill and we just stack. I think that's the game plan. One day I'll learn how to day trade. I feel like there's crypto, Web3, like building this whole thing. And then there's like day traders that are surrounding the whole thing. I have no idea how to day trade. I don't know how to read a chart. I don't know any indicators. I barely know what a candlestick chart is. And I sure as hell don't know how to like predict the future with it. If I did, I would be sitting in a much more lavish office right now talking to you. I guarantee it. I'll learn one day. Do you day trade or do you like trade back and forth? I do literally zero. I like everything I have is staked. If like the market crashed, I wouldn't be able to do anything because everything would be locked up for 21 days for sure, which probably isn't the smart thing to do, but I'm here to party.
Can't say I day trade, but
swing trade. Swing trade.
I certainly say to people when I talk to anyone who asks me like what you do, and part of it is, I guess, trading or investing. But when you're so long in a market, like for 10 years, you kind of start to look at it from a different perspective, I guess. You kind of understand certain things. Like, I mean, if you spend 20 years in the production market, I mean, you would understand a lot about it. So, right, you would understand what's worth more money than more in production and what's going to be the next big thing in production. And it's exactly the same thing with crypto, I think. I mean, if you spend 10 years in a market in crypto, you're kind of involved in that, I guess.
You get an eye for it. You get
involved in it.
I do find myself, I have like some friends that I'm not going to say they trade stocks. I'm going to say they attempt to trade stocks. And I just don't know anything about that realm. I definitely feel much more comfortable in the crypto world for sure. I don't know anything about stocks. What even are they? I don't even know. The market closes? I don't even know what the hell that means. I like to wake up and see what happened while I was asleep. Sometimes it's exciting. Sometimes it's depressing.
What resources, man, do you recommend? You said before that you like to spend time to research the space.
I feel like when I first dabbled, when I first got into it in like 2017, I know it's like not that long ago, but at the time the resources were limited, right? There wasn't a whole lot out there. Like ETH was so fresh and so new. And no one knew too much about it. I'm trying to remember whenever it like went online, but probably like a year and a half ago, I did like the Gary Gensler MIT Bitcoin class. And I feel like however you feel about Gary Gensler, just put those feelings aside, I guess. I realize that's a hot topic. So we don't have to dive in there. But I feel like if you're completely new, I feel like you have like two options. Take the Gary Gensler like MIT Bitcoin class, which is going to get you through a lot of the macro subjects. And I feel like it does it in a pretty digestible manner. Or I feel like you're going down the rabbit hole of just like researching endlessly on the internet sideways and going to random like YouTubers. And I feel like that way it takes a lot longer and it's much more confusing. Like for people that are just new and just like don't know anything. I realize everybody that's here on like the Citizen Cosmos podcast, I would argue a lot of these people are very literate. I feel like you have to get to Bitcoin and then you have to get to ETH. And then by the time you get to Cosmos, I feel like you're a little bit more in the know. For sure. So I feel like everybody that's like here at this podcast, I guarantee they're smarter than me. I guarantee it. I would probably ask them, but I feel like you kind of get to a point where like Twitter really becomes one of your best resources of just like learning about new things and researching new projects. When I first got into everything again this like past year, I would just go down on like CoinGecko and I would scroll down because I'm trying to find those hidden gems, obviously. But I would just like click on something. I would go to their site. If their site looked like shit, I immediately just like exit out of it. And then I kind of just like worked backwards from there. So I found a few sites that I thought that like looked good. You got to have a good site, right? You're a blockchain developer. You got to have a good site.
It must have been hard for you. I mean, you're in like the whole business, right? So, I mean, it must have been hard for you to find a good website.
I do video stuff. I don't know anything about website stuff. I work within a 16 by 9 container.
But you said you like interfaces. So, I mean, you like things to be pretty,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah. I can't read. White papers are hard, all right? I'm a light paper guy.
Because the POS.
Because the POS. Sometimes I feel like I would like read like a white paper. I'd be like, I'm following this. This is cool. And then all of a sudden, like some parabolic curve graph would pop up, and I would be like, I'm out. I don't know what's going on. This is too hard. They're giving me math with formulas that doesn't have numbers and it has letters. It's too hard. Yeah, I'm not about that life. I can't do that. I will to admit, okay, this isn't a plug for this project at all, but it'll be a plug for this project. Celestio. Cosmos-based blockchain.
I like Celestia, actually. I really like Celestia.
So one thing I love that they did that I encountered on their end is someone just made a Google Doc that just had all the educational information on it, just like a Google Sheet doc that you could just go through and just like click through everything. And it just made it so digestible and so easy. And it's like an Excel sheet. So it's like a formula you're very like familiar with and you didn't have to like dig too much for it. We need that for everything. I need that for everything. It's so hard. There's so many projects. It's very hard to understand what they all do. There's so many, I just don't know what they do. You know what I mean? I'm still kind of in the dark on a lot of them just because they take a lot of like time and research and energy to kind of like dive into. And it's all just so layered for sure. I mean, even when I was like learning about osmosis and stuff, when I was making my little osmosis video that I made, if you're trying to describe to somebody what like a DEX is and what like an automated money market maker is, an automated market maker, right? An AMM, that's a lot of information that builds upon a lot of things and is very hard to digest if you're kind of starting from square one. I think making educational tools for people to just digest this content like a lot easier is going to be one of the biggest things in getting like just more people into the space and more familiar with it. I feel like the more you learn about it, the more you like trust the whole space as well. It makes you much more confident dumping money into things when you're like, oh, there's a ton of different computers around the world that are running these algorithms and checking the list, checking it twice. Making sure it all checks out, making sure everybody has it. Yeah, I think you need to like learn all that. Simultaneously, it makes me freak out about my normal fiat life because I'm like, you're telling me there's not a million computers making sure this is good?
Remember your Czech story? It crashed the system. That's what happens when you don't have a million computers, man. It's like YouTube, no, I mean, we cannot accept that. But this is, I think, beautiful. I totally agree. The education thing, man, we need to up that game because that's just really not close to the way that it's hard. It's hard to get into the space. It's hard. There's not enough like entry points.
It's getting easier though. It's getting far easier every single day. I think we have a lot of people to thank for that too.
For sure. And on a wrap up note, though, man, you had a video recently, and I must ask you that we had done on the show a couple of times, and I just have to ask, you were talking about using a VPN all the time and not all the time. And I just want to know, do you still use a VPN at all times?
Yeah, I use a VPN. We're on a VPN right now. Okay, so when I went to Lisbon, Dan, DVPN Dan.
You use the VPN?
DVPN Dan is what I call him affectionately. Deedle, everybody should follow him on Twitter. He's the CEO of Exidio.
He's cool.
Yeah. Dan's awesome. I talked to Dan, I think after I made my first Coney Daddy video, Dan called me up and me and him like talked for like 2 hours just about like just random stuff, shot the shit, didn't really talk about probably anything productive. Super awesome guy. I was hoping he was going to be in New York for Masari when I went with the Akash team, but I ended up finally meeting Dan in Lisbon and hung out with Dan a very large amount. So I'm hoping to work more with the Exidio team overall and do some more fun Exidio things and DVPN things.
But remember to wear a VPN.
Use a VPN at all times. Use protection at all times.
I'm sorry, I spoiled it.
I switched over. I used to have a Nord VPN on my phone, so I switched over to the official Exidio app. I had the Sentinel app before, but now we're on the Exidio app.
Do you feel safer?
I feel more anonymous. Actually, fun story about this. When I started my whole crypto journey, I feel like everyone's like, you got to have your email that you only use for crypto things. You got to have your VPN. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this right. All right, I'm going to get a VPN and I'm going to do it anonymously. So I paid for a Nord VPN with Ethereum because I didn't know that Sentinel existed. And I don't even know if it was like a working product at the time, in full honesty. So maybe it didn't exist. So I paid for it in Ethereum because I was like, all right, this is going to be awesome. No one's going to know who I am. I'm going to do it full incognito. And then like the moment you pay for it, they're like, so we need an email address and your name and your phone number and like all this other stuff. So kind of defeated the whole purpose of paying for it in Ethereum. Also, Ethereum at the time was like very cheap. So that was probably a very expensive VPN service at this point in time, whereas using the Sentinel network is like what, pennies on the dollar in comparison. So I would probably say looking for a VPN, probably for sure switch over to them. It's a little hypocritical now, like looking back onto it, as far as the whole VPN service goes as far as like you're using a VPN for privacy, for not sharing your data. And if you're using a centralized VPN, the very first thing they ask you for is like, all right, so what's your name and your email address? And can you give us a credit card number to continue billing you each and every month? If anything, I'm going to use Exidio. I'm not even trying to flex Exidio in the Sentinel DVPN service. I'm just saying it's pretty awesome they don't auto bill my credit card every single month and just take money out of my account without asking me. That's pretty cool in its own right, let alone the fact that they're selling you a service that's, advertising privacy and they're not asking for my name.
What do you do that you don't want them, like the credit card company, to know?
You think I would say that out loud on a podcast, Serge? You think I would say that out loud right now? I'm not gonna name myself and all. Keep it wrapped.
Oh well, keep it wrapped. In all fairness, you can actually pay for a centralized VPN with Monero, for example. You can.
Do they still ask you for an email and all that other stuff, though? I guess I could have made a fake email. It just kind of seemed like it fitted the...
You can make a fake email. Yeah, you can make a fake email.
But I feel like Exidio is so much easier. I feel like I just download the app and I'm like, boom.
Of course. There's a big difference between the way the architecture is set with the servers, and this is the main point.
Especially since I can, just get all that DVPN on osmosis so fast.
Man, for sure. And I'm sure that these guys are going to grow. And I really like to see a lot of more teams to build around Cosmos. I'm hoping that we're going to see more and more projects. And I think it is happening already with the amount of, like, in the last half a year.
They're multiplying like crazy.
Bam, bam, bam. Yeah.
Well, Serge, thank you for having me on. I hope I was able to enlighten people with my simpleness. I'm learning more.
I think it was beautiful.